Hello world, my name is Ben, I'm from D2Soft Technologies, and today I want to talk about how to stop spammer from filling out your form automatically, either by scripts or maybe there's some people doing it, but in general it's going to be script attacking your website. And I had the issue here with one of the websites I'm currently working on, and as you see, this is my form here, and I had some spam getting in, like for example, this is the typical way they fill out the form, like a name, an email address, and the content they want to advertise, and would have 1-2 email per day receiving on my inbox. So I want to get rid of that. So I started doing some verification, how they work, what's the pattern they have. So I took some information like the IP address, the agent, and I noticed that they have take some time to fill out the form as well. But one day there was a script that was literally attacking my page like 100 times within a minute or two, and that's when I was like, I need a solution for that. And I didn't want to involve a CAPTCHA where the end user has to fill out those specific form with information recognizing letters or recognizing images. It's really something that breaks the user experience, I think, and most of the time it's not very successful at working. So, and what I noticed with this specific spam that time was that the script attacking my page was not just like a regular spammer. It was more than that. It was trying to hack my website by using those specific code within the message, and they would just use SQL injection. So you see here a more readable format. So what's happening with SQL injection, if you don't know about that, it's a way for spammers or hackers to gain access to your database by incorporating to the message specific commands recognized by the SQL server. And many times when the programmers write their backend code, they don't make sure that the string is protected from that. So that's why there's many scripts attempting to gain access to the SQL server, the database server. And this is how they do it. So it's not something new, but still there's many programmers, they're not aware of how to protect themselves from that. So you need to be careful about that, and make sure you read about SQL injection if you're interested to know more. But to come back to how I'm fighting my spammers. So I came up with this solution here. I wanted to block any IP that's trying to attack my forms, and I wanted to make sure these were humans as well. So first, there's a call to my page. I verify, is it an IP that is already blocked? Yes, okay, I continue blocking this IP, because the more they insist, the more I'm going to block them longer. But if it's new IP or it's not an IP that is blocked yet, I verify by checking 3 things. First, how long it took for the form to be filled out. I put a field that is used as a honeypot, so it means that this field is only visible to the scripts, not the users. And if the script fill out the field with some value, I know that this was a spammer. And finally, the third thing is I verified there's actually human interaction with the submit button. I want to have either a mouse click or keyboard click on the submit button. If this fails, go back to blocking the IP address. If all the tests work, then it goes to continue and serve the page. So let's go to a little bit of backend code here. First, let's have a look at the form. So as you see here, I have mostly input form like the name, the email, and the message. You see them here in my form here. They all required, so when you click, they all required by default, so this is fine. But what I wanted to add extra security. So I'm adding a few more fields. I'm actually adding 3 fields. So here they are. So I need 2 hidden fields and 1 regular text field. So the first one is the time it took for the form to be submitted. So the moment the form is created, I put a time, I get the date in terms of seconds, so I can validate after that later on how long it took to fill out the form. Then I put as a second one a verification. I expect a value when the user is actually clicking the submit button. I change the value here from false to true. And finally, I put my honeypot here, which is just a regular field, but I put a class of CSS. So I want to make it invisible for the end user, so I put an opacity of 0, but also I put a width of 0, so I don't want the user to see it no matter which browser. So that's a way to do it. And then I'm just putting this field there visible for the scripts, for the bots, but not for the end user. And if you look back here on my submit button, I added some on key and on mouse event. So these you can add that also to your form. If you're programming using backend PHP or any other language, you can all apply those same technique using a language. It's not very complicated. And what happens is that when the button is clicked or is pressed using a keyboard, I'm calling a JavaScript function here that just set the value to true of the hidden field, and this will allow me to know that the user was actually a valid user and not a bot. And now if we go to the backend on post, I just validate here all the values that were submitted, are they valid or not. So let's have a look here. First check, I look at the time difference between the time the form was created and was submitted. I want to have at least 1 second. Currently I'm setting 1 second. Of course 1 second is way too short for a user to fill out the form, but at the same time it's very long for a script, because most of those bots, they just fill out their form within milliseconds. So that's a good way to already get rid of many of the spammers. The second security will add to that by checking, is it my honeypot, is it filled or not? If there's a value into my text field, then I know that it's not supposed. The script just fill out everything, so they put the value, then I know it's also a spammer. Finally, the third one, I check, is the button of submit was clicked or was pressed? Yes, okay, then if not, it's a spammer. Of course, there's some, I would say, some possibility where the user is just pressing enter on another field of the form, and then it submit the form, because browser, they do that by default. You could actually improve by just removing this as an event, or just setting your button as a instead of a submit in here, the type, instead of submit you could put button. Then there's not such a thing of automatic submitting the form on press. I don't want to do that because it has other side effects for now, but just be aware that it's not a perfect 100% solution, but it's gonna in most cases limit the user from spamming your system. And finally, if one of those clauses doesn't work, I'm adding the IP user into my blacklist. And let me show you here after that what happens when the user actually calls the page. Then I have a middleware. So in ASP.NET Core middleware, it's actually some code that is executed before the page is rendered. So what I want is, like, I want to check before the page is sent to the user, is this IP blocked by the system or not. So I keep track of all the IP that are blocked into just a memory variable on the server. Of course, if I reset my website, I'm going to lose all those IP, but it doesn't really matter, because I don't want to necessarily block the IP forever. I just want to block it enough so that there's no spamming going on. So I verify based on the IP and the user agent. So why do I use also the user agent? The user agent, if you look at an email here, it's actually the part that says what kind of browser was accessing the page. And there's a lot of details in those user agent, and most of the time they're different enough from one user or one computer to another, that if you're blocking a full IP and they're behind a proxy, so it means, like, for example, a company is using all the same one IP, then you're not actually ending up blocking too many users, because you also block based on the IP but also based on the user agent. So there's less likely chance you're blocking a bunch of users, and you're more targeting towards one specific user. In that case, what do? I return a code 429 status code it's an HTML error code, which means too many requests. I don't want to send some error message, like, for example, not available, or invalid request, or error 404, because if ever there's some problem with my code or the calling, and for example, the search engine is crawling my site to access the pages, I don't want the search engine to be actually ignoring my page in the future. So I'm just saying, okay, too many requests for now, I'm not gonna serve you any more pages, don't bother, and that's the idea. And I also write a specific message that can be read by human, saying you're doing too many requests. If you're a spammer, take some time off, don't visit us again later on. But if you insist, I'm gonna just keep on blocking you longer. So that's what I do. If I see that the same IP is trying to access the website once it's in the blacklist, within the time limit that I set, I just expand. I just expand even more the blocking. So I'm gonna, for example, I'll go exponentially. So at first I'm just gonna block for a second, then 2 seconds, then 4 seconds, and keep on going like this until like it's too long for the user to be able to access the server. So that's pretty much it. So if you like the idea, you can implement it into your website very easily. There's nothing really specific to ASP.NET here. It's really code that you can do, and it worked very well so far. I've been implementing that for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I didn't get any spam since then. So I saw many attempts because I log currently the attempts, and I see that the spammer is being blocked. I hope this video was useful for you. And if you like this kind of content, please subscribe, like this video. I am Ben again from D2Soft Technology. I specialize into web programming. I'm also developing currently an HTML5 game engine that is called D2Soft Engine. You can look at it at d2soft.com. Have a look, and if you're interested to know more, look at these videos here. They're going to explain a little bit more about what we're trying to achieve here with this engine. So thank you again for watching, and have a good day.